Good evening, everybody. John Ervosis here. Hello. Greetings from Washington, D.C. Let me get the TikTokers rolling here. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. What we got? Notifying. Swipe to see real performance. Manda Bear. Hello, you. I will switch the mirror before anybody yells at me. Ha! There we go. Up, microphone on. Niet. Microphone on. Hello, guys. Hey, Tyson. Everybody, give a little hello, shout out where you're from, if you would. We like to do that. You are not first. Sadly, Manda Bear was first. Cue the Russians. Exactly. Where would we be if our Russian friends didn't just plop in? Oh, hey everybody. I have much warm tea with me today. I made the mint tea for real. I got a lot of mint, really hot water, let it steep 20 minutes. So this is now the worthy of Morocco mint tea. Oh, that's good. It's a bit like drinking bubble or gum because it's spearmint. It reminds me of Wrigley spearmint gum. It's funny. Hello from Amsterdam. Everybody. I tried everything. By the way, just to let folks know, usually we go about 5 minutes and then we start because it takes a little bit of time for folks to get notified on YouTube, on TikTok, etc. So we're going to talk amongst ourselves for a couple minutes and then 5 after we're beginning. I tried everything. I tried everything on the Q&A. Nothing exists. What I did find, which was nice, I did find how to do green screen and during the lives, at least over on TikTok. But on TikTok, there is absolutely nothing I can do to start the Q&As. It's gone. I deleted my app. I turned it back on again and went through every bit of functionality. It doesn't exist. TikTok wiped it out for me for some reason. So, alas. Sunny Greenville. I'm in sunny Washington. Yep, settings in the bottom right. Ain't nothing there about turning on the Q&A in the actual live itself. I've been through all the settings 10 times. So TikTok hates me. So what else is new? Hello, the mighty Twitchers. There's only one. You're a mighty Twitcher today. You're not a Twitchers. Actually, it claims there's one. That's not true. 3 of you have said hi. Very confusing. It's claiming one. Hello from Ohio and Houston. TikTok has been trying to silence me for a while now. TikTok is not a big fan of the news sites, and they're also not a big fan of the people doing Ukrainian news. Oh, I updated the app. I mean, who knows when I updated the app? Weeks ago, probably. Yeah, I could try to downgrade the app. I'm not sure how to downgrade the app, but I'd be willing to try to get the Q&A back. There are a few of you. Well, I can see a few of you already weighing in. It's just not showing you on the screen yet, but time will tell. Anyway, guys, we'll wait, like I said, for another 2 minutes, and then we will jump right in. Leicestershire, lovely watching you as well. Well, no, because I'm not watching you. That would be creepy, but lovely seeing you here. Crazy Yvonne lady from UK. Jillian from UK, or Gillian, I guess I don't know how you guys would say it. But anyway, yeah, so things are good today. I've got too much news, if anything, to be honest. So as I'm going through the news, I may scratch stuff out. I'm always surprised. Like the news day seems like it's slow, and then it goes crazy. What, is Twitch being slow today now? I'm telling you. You lose all your drafts if you delete the app and reinstall. I don't really keep drafts, though. I don't keep drafts. Very rarely. So, but yeah, no, I deleted and reinstalled. Didn't do anything. So, hello, Ireland. Hello, England. Scarborough, Ontario. What else we got here? What? Eric à Paris, encore. Hello, Eric. Annette. Oh, guys. So what's going on today? Thank you, Grandma, for the shells. We're about the point where maybe I'll start doing my introduction. Radoslav is here, as always. Good to see. LaShawn, they hate me. Yes, they hate me and they hate my mission. Pretty much. Pretty much. And yeah, I must have updated the app a couple weeks ago. I'm sure I did. Sure I did. You are back. Well, you are welcome back. So, all right, guys. Thank you, Marcy. As always, hello, Slovenia. I am going to try to do this without my inhaler because I think it's anxiety doing my little asthma thing because it only kicks in when I do the show with you guys. And not that I'm anxious, but doing the show is doing a show. So like, your energy's up and up. And that's what we're about to do is talk Ukraine. So the way this works is I will do the news for about 20 minutes or so, possibly a little longer today because we've got a lot of news actually that I think is relevant. And then we jump into the Q&A on TikTok because TikTok got rid of the Q&A in my lives. You need to go to my profile page on TikTok. Thank you, Miss Mickey. And you will see the Q&As there. So feel free to enter the Q&As there on my profile page. On YouTube, Twitch, etc., you can use the comment box, obviously very easily at the bottom of your page. That's easy, I think. Yep, jingle, I'm sure that's what's going on. And so the other thing is also on TikTok, as you guys know, but if anybody's new, maybe you don't know, you can also do super stickers, which are a way of saying thank you and doing a cute little thing on the screen, and super chats, which are a way of asking a question that you pay for, but it also does a little thing on the screen that makes it very obvious. And I always promise that in response to the super chat questions, I will always get to your question and I will do it as the next thing possible. Even though overall there's just too many questions. There's no way to get to all of them. But as a thank you, I will do the super chat questions because I appreciate you guys supporting my work. So let me jump right in. Final thing to say on TikTok, I always appreciate the gifts. Keep them coming. They support my work too. And as a thank you, I will always try to sort of chime in and give a quick thank you for all the crazy stuff you guys put on the page. So interesting story. And I may bring up the image to show you too. There's second day in a row now that we've got oil refineries blowing up in Russian occupied territory, so to speak. First, it was on Crimea, and we thought they were oil wells. Now it looks like maybe it's gas wells. It's not clear natural gas. But bottom line is somebody, must have been the Ukrainians, attacked occupied Crimea, which is Ukraine territory that the Russians have stolen. This is Crimea. The Russians stole it in 2014. So that happened like yesterday or the day before. Well, then this morning, what happens? Someone shoots or sends a drone over across the border, and literally, here's Mariupol. You've all heard about Mariupol and all the problems there. Remember, Mariupol is the town that the Russians were bombing for like 3 months, that the 2,000 men and women of the Ukrainian side were stuck in the steel plant, and they were fighting back against 14,000 Russians, and the Russians couldn't beat them. That's Mariupol. Well, right across, this is not water, this is Russia over here, is the town of Rostov-on-Don. And it's a Russian town. It has one of Russia's biggest oil refineries, and somebody's drone blew it up today. Didn't blow up all of it, but it blew up enough to cause a hell of a fire. Let me pull this up just to show you. Where's the fire? Hang on. Glasses. And this is an interesting story to me, not just because, we all like Russian oil refineries blowing up. Just to show you, they're still trying to put out the fire. Now, the actual explosion itself is pretty impressive. Here we go. Now, this video is interesting because first you'll see the drone, which you can barely see the drone flying around, okay? Now I'm going to fast forward to the damage in the background just as the fire starts going, but it's going to pick up quickly. Actually, I think I can zoom. Oh, I can zoom in. Here you go. So it's a nice fire taken off there at the oil refinery, as you can tell. Well, what is interesting to me is, first of all, the drone. Good question. Somebody said, was it a Russian drone? The drone, when it was zoomed in, suspiciously looked like a Russian drone. Some of the military experts online were going back and forth because the tail fin or whatever you call it on the end of the drone kind of it was like a square, but it came up like a U. And they were saying that the Ukrainians don't have drones like that. I don't know if the Americans do, but the Russians do. And they were thinking, even though it kind of looks like a Bayraktar, they were thinking it's a Russian drone, but they were also thinking, they might be wrong. They were also thinking that doesn't mean it's the Russians. Now, the Russians could have done it as a false flag, right, to blame Ukraine. It also could have been the Ukrainians that got their hands on a Russian drone and, repurposed it and flew it into Russia's own plant. Now, it was a kamikaze drone. Yes, it was a kamikaze drone from what we know. What is interesting to me about this is Ukraine's choice of going after Russia's oil. Now, they did before. Remember, they went after the oil depot or whatever it was in Belgorod, which was the town right across the border from Kharkiv. But that was, 2 months ago. This city is Rostov-on-Don, which is right across the southern border of Ukraine and Russia. Now, what is interesting to me about this is Ukraine going after Russia's oil is, of course, brilliant if you want to stop Russia. Thank you, Knossi. If you want to stop Russia from having the money it needs to keep the war going. But we also know that the West is very nervous about cutting back on Russian oil and natural gas. Oil, there were some sanctions in place, cutting back somewhat. Natural gas, not at all. And also what I just saw in the paper today was the Chinese and the Indians have bought up all the Russian oil that the Europeans stopped buying with the new sanctions. So Russia isn't losing anything. The way you stop Russia from losing isn't by not buying their oil, it's by blowing up their oil, because then they can't sell it to anybody else. The problem is that when Western Europe or Europe is dependent on Russian energy, and you're Ukraine and you're dependent, thank you, Knossi, and you're dependent on Ukraine, on Russia for natural gas and oil, you might not be too happy with Ukraine blowing up the natural gas and oil that you need, right? And Ukraine doesn't want to piss off Europe because it wants the weapons. What is interesting to me, and I was just starting to think about this today, is Ukraine needs to start sending the message that Europe should be worrying about humiliating Ukraine, right? The talk was about humiliating Putin. But what about humiliating Ukraine? Because here's the thing. If Ukraine starts losing this war, they're not going to worry anymore about the French and the Germans and their anger and everything else. If Ukraine starts losing this war, then all bets are off, and Ukraine has to do anything possible within legal, right? So they're not going to do war crimes. But what could Ukraine do that's legal that would stop Russia in its tracks? Blow up Russian oil and gas production and refineries. Now, a lot of the, I looked into it, a lot of the oil and gas is in the east of Russia. That means they would need special crews going in there, special, whatever you call the crews, but, secret agent men and women going in there to blow them up. But my suspicion is Ukrainians can do it. They speak the language. They speak the language without an accent, so sort of my long story short on this is somebody needs to remind the West that if you're so thrilled about keeping your Russian oil going and your Russian natural gas going, you better make Ukraine happy, because if Ukraine starts losing this war, Ukraine's going to go after all the oil and gas it can get its hands on, because it's taken Russia down with it. And that means your oil and gas is disappearing. So anyway, just my point on that. Now, the Naftogaz CEO, the oil refining has completely stopped in Ukraine. The head of Ukraine's state-owned oil and gas monopoly, Naftogaz, says that the entire oil refining industry of Ukraine is not working due to targeted Russian strikes. This is also why I think over the long term, the Russians are shutting down Ukraine's economy. It's going to be difficult after a while. I mean, it's difficult now, but they're shutting down Ukraine's economy. And at some point, even if Ukraine has the weapons it needs, it may not have the economy it needs to keep going. And again, if I were Ukraine, I'd be saying sayonara to every main Russian industry that existed with all of my secret agents. Kherson, another collaborator, was blown up in Kherson today. Kherson, I should say. Here we go. Kherson. It is a city down here occupied by the Russians. It is the, thank you for the glasses, Grandma. It is the first major Ukrainian city that the Russians occupied. And, well, what happened today? According to the head of Ukraine's military intelligence, the Alexei, every time I say Alexei, my Alexa goes off. It's kind of funny. Alexei Kovalyov was a member of parliament from Zelensky's own party, but who said on Facebook on June 8th that he was cooperating with the Russian troops in Kherson Oblast. Well, it's now 14 days later, and they blew up his car. The partisans blew up his car, the resistance. No word on how he's doing. My guess is he ain't getting into a car anytime soon. And I'd also be curious if this guy's going to be collaborating any longer. Kherson is the place every time I've told you about a collaborator getting blown up, it's Kherson. These guys have got one hell of a resistance network going on there. And it's going to be interesting to see this, sort of transfer to the other territories that Russia's occupying. UK intelligence said today, British intelligence, that the Donetsk militia, which are basically, this is the town of Donetsk, the oblast or the province is surrounding it. These guys are the collaborators who declared themselves independent. They had the Russian collaborators in these two regions who declared themselves independent illegally. Well, they've got their own, militia that's fighting for Russia, their own collaborationist militia. British intelligence said today that the militia in Donetsk alone has lost 55% of its original forces, either due to death or wounding. So that's pretty amazing numbers and good, again, good in terms of showing that Ukraine's been having a hard time, but the Russian supporters are having a very hard time as well. The British intelligence also said today, I believe via Boris Johnson, that in the next few months, Russia may stop advancing at all due to resources being exhausted. I almost think that's a little conservative because, again, at least people I'm listening to think it may be sooner than a few months that Russia finally realizes they've sort of done everything they can and they've got to just dig in. Sip of tea. The Russians are threatening to execute one of the British-born members of the Ukrainian army who said that was Boris Johnson quoting British intelligence. The Russians are threatening to execute a British-born member of the Ukrainian military. You remember recently 2 Brits and 1 Moroccan were captured by the Russians and their surrogates, and all of them had been living in Ukraine a long time. I believe the Brits had Ukrainian spouses, and they joined up with the Ukrainian military as members of the Ukrainian military. They were not mercenaries. They're members of the Ukrainian military. Well, they got captured, and the Russians, of course, declare them as, evil, criminal, treasonous mercenaries, put them on trial, gave them the death penalty, convicted them, and now at least one of the guys, Aiden Aslan, called his family freaked out and said that they're telling him he doesn't have much time left before they kill him. Mind you, this entire process is a war crime. The UN has declared it a war crime. You can't do this to people. He is protected, but they are protected by the Geneva Conventions, and you certainly can't kill them. But also, I would argue the psychological warfare of telling him you're going to kill him is also a war crime. But that's where that is. Let's see what happens. I'm not convinced that they're I'm not convinced they're going to kill him. I'm not convinced at all they're going to kill him, but they're trying to do, this is Russia at its peak. It's psychological warfare, which is what they do best. Germany, this is a good German story. Germany has offered Ukraine multiple launch rocket systems, similar to the systems that the US and the UK are sending. Germany will hand over multiple MLRS, which stands for Multiple Launch Rocket System, Mars 2 to Ukraine, only after training Ukrainian military. The Germany will start training Ukrainian military in June, and only after the training, I love this language, it's so German, only after the training will we hand over these weapons to Ukraine. I mean, it's like, okay already. Like, you don't have to be a dick about it. But you know, it's good. It's good. This is a good thing. We like that. As always with Germany, the proof is in the pudding. Let's see. Let's praise Germany when the weapons actually get there. But at least it's, I mean, I don't know what to make of it anymore. It's a promise, you know, that and, you know, what do they say? That and $3 will get you a coffee at Starbucks. I mean, you know, let's see what happens. The German defense minister says that Germany, Netherlands combined are to provide Ukraine with a total of 12 Panzerhaubitze. These are the howitzers we were talking about yesterday. The German Defense Ministry reported that 12 German and Dutch self-propelled howitzers, these are artillery, are currently being shipped to Ukraine. Oh, okay, currently being shipped. Okay, that sounds legit at least. That's good. And what was this? And a little bit of bullshit from Germany too, because, you know, we got to round things off. The German defense minister says Ukraine has assured it that it will not attack Russia with Western weapons. I assume they mean Russia, the land of Russia, not Russia as in Russian troops. According to Christine Lambrecht, Ukraine has assured Western countries that it's not going to attack Russian territory and will only use Western-provided weapons for its own defense. Now, actually, the Brits had already said, and I believe they've said twice, that it's totally fine for Ukraine to use the British-provided weapons to attack Russian territory. I remember one example a month ago that I read that was very clear about that. You know, at some point, our guys have got to give it up. Russia, going all the way back to Vietnam, Russia provided planes that the Vietnamese used, the North Vietnamese used to kill Americans, to kill American pilots. The Russians provided the planes to kill American pilots, but we can't provide planes to kill Russian pilots. I mean, the whole thing is just, you know, whatever. In any case, Reporters Without Borders says that Ukrainian photojournalist Max Levin was executed by Russian troops, possibly after being interrogated and tortured. They published a report about it. He was found dead in the Kyiv Oblast on April 1st, along with his friend, Ukrainian soldier Alexei Chernyshov. According to the reports, both were executed in cold blood by Russian forces, likely after being questioned and tortured on March 13th, the day they went missing. A third of those, sort of a related story, a third of those who stayed in Russian-occupied areas around Kyiv lost their lives. Remember, the Russians came down and they tried to take the capital, Kyiv, and they were unsuccessful, but it took about a good, month and a half, was it, to push them out? Thank you, Crusher, for that. A third of those who stayed in Russian-occupied areas around Kyiv lost their lives. In Bucha alone, which was the town where the really horrific war crimes happened, well, the ones that we know about, we know these happened elsewhere too. 419 executions have been documented in the small town alone. And the Russians apparently arrived in Bucha with a list of names and went searching for the names. So they already knew who they were looking to kill. And they were activists, government officials, things like that. And exactly what Carol's saying on TikTok. Bucha was just the beginning. Oh, and I almost forgot. I am supposed to give a special shout out to Phil J today. I don't know if Phil J is out there, but I understand he's a big fan of what we've been doing here. And I was specifically told I must give a shout out. So Phil J, I hope you're out there and not missing this today, but I appreciate your support. in the middle of telling you about people dying and all the horrible things. But hey, what do you do? It's not like there's ever a good moment here with this news. Russia dismantled and removed the largest solar power plant in Ukraine in the village of Tokmak in Zaporizhia region. Zaporizhia region around here. Zaporizhia is also the same region where the nuclear plant is that Russia stole. I would not be surprised if they stole it to bring it back home. This is their version of it, the largest toilet in history. They saw it. They saw solar power, and they said, let's steal it and bring it back. I guarantee you. This was interesting. So we had heard recently about the Kremlin replacing various military leaders with regards to the war. And the Kremlin recently replaced, we're hearing, the commander of the Russian airborne forces, which sounds like the head of their air force, and may have fired the commander of the Southern Military District and appointed a new overall commander of Russian forces in Ukraine. Remember, the talk was that Dvornikov, the butcher of Syria, got fired. At least that's what we hear. The Institute for the Study of War, which is the think tank that I like very much and rely on, they said that if all of this is true, these are not actions taken by a force on the verge of a major success, and it indicates ongoing dysfunction in the Kremlin's conduct of the war. They took this as being a really bad sign for just how well the war effort's going in Russia, that basically everything's botched and that they're just firing people and bringing new people in because it's a disaster. And mind you, they're not getting good news, right? If they were getting good news, pour a little more tea. If they were getting good news, they wouldn't feel the need to start firing all the heads, right? A little bit more tea. I'm liking it. I'm going to have to make this more often. My mint tea. I haven't done that in a very long time. This story blew my mind. Okay, this one absolutely blew my mind. Listen to this. Yeah, I don't drink the Russian tea. Thank you, Inspired Woman, for that. Listen to this story. Apparently, this was 2 days ago, and I totally missed it. The BBC's Russian service reported on June 20th that new Russian recruits are receiving only 3 to 7 days of training before being sent to the most active sectors of the front. I mean, 3 to 7 days training for the newest recruits that are being brought in. These poor SOBs, thank you, Kanowski, these poor SOBs are being sent to war with 3 to 7 days training. As people said, it's cannon fodder. They are being sent to die. They're being sent to die. It's absolutely, absolutely, absolutely disgusting. I mean, I can't even imagine. I would run. Exactly. Well, they are running, I guess, right? We've got the 200 of them that apparently ran and hid in the forest near Kharkiv in the Northeast. I mean, it's any military folks on here? Because to us, it sounds crazy, but I feel like, we're not military people. Any military current or former military folks, I mean, are we not crazy? I mean, is this not insane? It's just, thank you, KK. Appreciate the galaxy. In World War II, they got as little as 1 hour of training. God. I mean, somebody says here, I'm military. That's insane. The topic today is Ukraine, is what the topic is. Let me just read here. Raymond saying, Tyson, I don't really have a Valde for today. No. I mean, they got the shit ripped out of them. You know what I mean? But I didn't really prepare an update on it. Sorry. Raymond says, what military campaign in history do you know where the commanders were replaced this often? Over 4 years of the North African campaign, the leadership was replaced 3 times over 4 years. Right. And this has been what they've had. I think they may have had 4 leaders over this campaign in as many months. I think we're on the 4th now. I mean, thank you, Evolving, for the boxing gloves. It's really Anyway, the other thing is somebody mentions the sanctions. I can mention really quick. The thing is the sanctions, Graham, they're not really hurting us. They're hurting Europe. The sanctions aren't really hurting America. When you call me this dude, you get a block because that means you're not serious about discussing this. But the sanctions aren't hurting the U.S. They're not. I don't think they are. And yeah, I saw Biden give us very strong, statement about defending Lithuania. The concern, actually, I'll mention this really quick because it's interesting. The concern for the Baltics is, and Estonia, I think, there's an article in the Financial Times today. Unfortunately, the Financial Times is always behind a paywall, but I saw people tweeting about it. And apparently the NATO war plan, if Estonia gets run over by the Russians, is to basically let the Russians overtake Estonia, and then several months later we'll force them out. And the concern from the Estonian government was saying, they're going to destroy us by then. They're going to destroy the country by then. And I can appreciate that. Now, I think it was Holland I read somebody say, and I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody was talking about this online. I mean, people I respect, and said Holland was concerned about the same thing and therefore agreed to have NATO or American nuclear weapons on their territory, because that way, as they said, that way it shifted the problem over to Germany, like way back in the Soviet era, so that the Russians would go after Germany instead. But it's an interesting question. Hey, привет, Toruska from Ukraine. Good to see you there. Everyone at TikTok could give Toruska a little greeting there from Ukraine. But legitimate concern. I'm not enough of a war planning expert. Well, that's the only thing. There are NATO troops in Estonia, and they do serve as a tripwire. But the concern is, if Russia goes into Estonia, Russia might be willing to kill NATO troops anyway. Because if Russia goes into Estonia, we're at war with Russia. I mean, we're going to have to bomb Russian troops and kill them anyway. So they may not care about the tripwire. Well, it's not a tripwire anyway. I mean, the question is whether they can outgun them is the question. Whether Estonia, even with the Canadian troops and whichever troops they've got, whether they're outgunned by the Russians. Anyway, we'll see. Belgian and Dutch too. We'll see. But it is an issue today. Estonia is in NATO, but the concern from Estonia is that the NATO war plan basically admits that Estonia will get overrun, and it's going to be several months before NATO then liberates Estonia. And I guess my only thought would be whether Estonia is saying between the lines that they want nuclear weapons positioned on their territory so that the Russians are afraid. That's all I can guess. I'm not sure. But in any case, sorry, we got off on a tangent here. It's a good tangent though, because it's relative to what we're discussing. This is good. There's a lot of news today, but this is good stuff, guys. The families of the soldiers on the Moskva are pissed. The Moskva, you guys know, is the newest submarine in the Soviet fleet. It was the pride of the Black Sea Fleet, and it was sunk by the Ukrainians with a Harpoon missile, remember? Well, the families, earlier we had heard about a couple weeks ago that the Russians brought in, psychologists, sure, KGB or FSB and FSB, to convince the families not to go public about their warship. Don't get me started. To convince the public to convince the families not to go public about their missing or dead loved ones or injured loved ones or whatever. And it got to the point where they threatened the pensions. In other words, the families would receive survivorship pensions from their kids getting killed, and they threatened to remove the pensions if the family spoke publicly about the deaths. So a number of the families have basically said, go to hell. And listen to this. The Kremlin is failing to deter the family members of sailors that survived the sinking of the Moskva from issuing an appeal against the deployment of surviving conscripts to the war in Ukraine. Russian opposition outlet Novaya Gazeta published an appeal from the parents, listen to this, of the surviving 49 conscript crew members of the Moskva, it says. The surviving 49 conscripts. How many conscripts would have been on that boat? I'm saying boat. I know it's a warship or whatever. We were told the total crew was 510 maybe. Does anybody have a clue? If you had a boat, Killer, thank you, Killer, of 510 sailors, how many of them would be conscripts, do you think, in the Russian military? What do you think? I mean, we know there were 500 or so. All 500 couldn't have been conscripts, right? They had to have. So what? Could 400 of them been conscripts? USA said 350. Okay. See, here's the thing: if you've got 30%, so it depends. Okay, you guys are having a disparity here. Some people are saying 25% would be officers and non-coms. Others are saying half. Here's the thing. We know there were 500 and some men on the ship, okay? Let's go conservatively, and let's say 50% were conscripts. That means 250. This says it's on behalf of the 49 surviving conscripts. That means 200 died. They've never told us how many died. But we thought from the beginning that lots of people died because of the extent of the fire, and that the fire was underneath the blowholes, the portholes, whatever you call it. The little windows on the side of the ship showed flames had been coming out of them, which meant there was a fire underneath. I mean, really scary. In any case, what the family, thank you, Fleabaggy, what the families were asking here, they're recommissioning the guys and making them go back to fight on June 20th, which actually just happened, I think. No, June 30th. They're making them go back and fight on June 30th. Oh, what is it saying here? Jeblin? I'm not sure. Privit? Jueblin? Not sure what that is. I know Privit or Privyet. I don't know what the other things from Kola. If anybody wants to engage with Kola and Ukrainian here. So yes, so they went public saying they don't want their families to be redeployed on the 30th. Thank you, Jones and Azamak. They want them sent home because of what these guys went through. Oh, was Kola being bad? All right, hold on. Let me check something here. Always got to worry about this. One moment. Oh, well, I don't mind a bad word unless he's being like a total dick, so to speak. Yeah, that one's not translating. Oops. Oh, that's why. Hang on a moment. Sorry, guys. Boom, boom. I want to see what he's saying here. Oh, he is being a dick. Really? Kola, this isn't a dating site. I realize that's what you like to do. But if that's what you like to do, you may want to check out some Russian military forums. That might work better for you. Somebody on Twitch got rid of Kola, I'm assuming. So Kola can go and find his Russian soldiers. I'm sure they're good at that. They don't seem to be good at anything else, but they're probably good at helping Kola. So, any case, Kola was being a bit of a troll, but it's okay. The appeal noted that the survivors refused to participate in further assignments due to psychological distress. Boy, I mean, like, woo! So these guys are really digging in. And by the way, they're digging in. So, and by the way, I'm gay, so I can make a little homophobic joke because I'm gay. It's allowed. It's allowed. I stick by it. I stick by it. I didn't know that. Now, I did not realize that Syndicate was up on his Russian slang. And actually, I'm impressed that Google Translate did translate the word correctly. Oh, my. Any case, Miami police, the police in Miami, Florida, launched a buyback of weapons where basically they offer the people in the community money for their weapons, and they say, bring us your guns. No, I am Greek. Yep. Bring us your guns. No question asked. And we will give you money for your guns, and we'll take your guns, and you won't get into trouble. Right. Well, Miami is doing a buyback of the weapons and then handing the weapons over to the Ukrainian armed forces. Is that not too cool? Thank you, Mark Body. Oh, and Samantha with the glasses. They're offering $50 for pistols, $100 for shotguns, $150 for powerful rifles. Apparently, not all the weapons can go to Ukraine. It depends whether they're, I don't know. I guess some the Ukrainians can use, some they can't. Spot the Boston Dynamics robot dog. I have to get a picture of this so you know who I'm talking about. That's what I'm telling you. There was a lot of cool news today. One moment. Where's Spot? Where's Spot? Come on, Spot. Come. Oh, here we go. And I had my videos up. So you might remember Spot the robot dog, the really scary, I'm going to kill you in your dreams science fiction robot dog. The dog, I think I'd feel better if Spot had a head. I think that's part of the problem. Spot is like zombie dog without a head. And it makes me think he's like a, 50-pound insect or something. But anyway, apparently we have provided a number of Spot the robot dogs to Ukraine so they can use them to clear mines, munitions, artillery, and cluster munitions around, I don't know if they said around, around Kyiv, the capital, which was kind of cool. I don't have anything else here that's relevant. I'm going to show you one last little thing because it's very cool. And then we'll get into the Q&A. There were some other stories, but I don't think they're that important. I mean, as I said, I try to keep this to, come on, you. Here we go. Okay, hang on. This is great. I'm going to, actually, what I should have done, you know what I'm going to do? Hold on. It's going to take me a second, but it's totally worth it because this is totally cool. I'm going to send it to both of you because I now figured out how to put videos and things up on my my TikTok. Trust me, you'll want to see this. So I'm going to I'm going to send this video to myself over on my TikTok. Come on, you. On my TikTok. And for you guys over here, Ravosis. I'll call it Tick for all things. All right, it should be going. Let me check my email. Oh, I can't check my email on TikTok. I'll have to show TikTok. I will show you guys. Because if I check my email, it's going to possibly throw TikTok like out the window. I've learned before with my Gmail. Hang on a second. Here it is. At least I can show it to use all. If it takes, let me see. Now it's going to say it doesn't like. I think it's not going to let me upload MOV files, but let's see. Let us see. It's worth it. Oh, here we go. Maybe it will.
Тихо. Десант. У нас появился десантник. Трусики морд. Що? Ти хочеш своїй сім'ї свалити? Я б на твоєму місці теж свалив. Хто як? Що? Один заснув.
Ну, він не дуже б заснув.
Ну, придрімав. Хто? Все, борода шліфується. Тактичні собаки. Ти вони навіть у них цей окрас такий специфічний. Тактичний. Що? Так, не треба мені руки лизати.
Hey, what do you do? I can only show you what I can show you. If it buffers, it buffers. So did that work for enough of you guys on TikTok? I'm hoping that worked for enough of you. I just thought that was the most adorable thing I'd ever seen. It was just, I mean, just like, oh my God. And the puppy and the whole, like, and the best part too is like, you don't understand a thing he's saying, but it's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. They do love their animals. That is something that is said very often about the Ukrainians, that they are big animal lovers. I would say akin to the French with dogs. The French love dogs. They love their dogs. As always, adjusting my temperature. Drink. All right, let's jump into the Q&A here. Sasha's cuter. I don't know if Sasha's cuter than a puppy. I'm not sure about that. Oh God, tell me I didn't. B. Madsen, I highlighted your question and then I star it so I don't lose it, and then of course forgot to answer. Can we trust NATO if they're already playing these games with Russia taking NATO members? Well, I don't think they're playing games. I mean, my suspicion is they came to an analysis. Okay, when I talked to some officials a couple months back, they told me that there really wasn't any way to stop the Russian. Basically, if the Russians rushed in, they would take a lot of land, and then it would be up to us to force them out. Thank you, Cami, for that. It would be up to us to force them out. So I'm not surprised if the analysis is that Estonia, 19 Twitchers, woo, Twitchers. Thank you, Twitchers, mighty Twitchers. I would not be surprised if the analysis from NATO was that the Russians would rush in and overwhelm the troops on the ground, and then it would take us several months or whatever to get them out. You know, I'm actually going to pull this up and see what the exact thing was on this. Hang on a sec. Let me see. Here, good. Quotes from the Financial Times. Here we go. Estonia would be wiped off the map and the historic center of its capital city razed to the ground under current NATO plans to defend the country from any Russian attack, according to its prime minister. Not sure UK will be delighted by this. This is the defense editor of The Economist chiming in. Callas, prime minister, added that she had spoken to foreign troops based in Estonia, largely those from the UK, and they had told her, thank you, Kanowski, for that. Oh, that's interesting. Is it a dentist chair? That's funny. She had spoken to foreign troops based in Estonia, largely those from the UK, and they had told her that given the current plans mean they would be all but wiped out by a potential Russian invasion. So the UK troops told her that they would be all but wiped out by a Russian invasion. The defense guy from The Economist says, my feeling too, forces in Estonia have been reinforced considerably since deployment began in 2014, which wouldn't be necessary if they were there solely to die quickly and trigger wider intervention. Forces can be tripwires and meaningful defenses at the same time. Yes, the EFP forces are more of a deterrent force than one that can stand and fight, but the idea that they're all going to be wiped out in minutes by unstoppable Russians is very dumb, not the least of which given the last 4 months. Okay, that's an interesting point. That's interesting. So some of the other guys are saying, you know, considering what we just witnessed in Ukraine, are we really so convinced that the almighty Russians are gonna invade in 3 days and take everything over? Right? You know, maybe not. Oh my God, you're driving me crazy with Operation Cavell. I haven't looked into it. Just tell me, what is it? Russia's just threatening you. Russia's threatening Lithuania. I mean, diplomatically, Russia is probably looking for a way to somehow economically blockade Lithuania or something. I don't know. I don't know. They're threatening to do something. It's going to be dicky, knowing the Russians. I'm not sure beyond that, but then again, the Russians are pretty smart about this, so they may find some way that maybe, others didn't think about. What are we looking at here? PB&J, large convoys of Russian equipment leaving Mariupol, according to the mayor's advisor. Do you think there's a chance for Ukraine to take it back? Well, I mean, first of all, the large convoys of Russian equipment are probably leaving Mariupol because they're panicking everywhere else. Mariupol, they are very concerned about Ukrainian counteroffensives going on in Zaporizhia right here. Here's Mariupol, ain't that far away. They're worried about, they're making a huge push to get the east and they may pull it off, but they've been sucking troops here from everywhere to try to pull off winning here. So the Mariupol guys could be going up here. The Mariupol guys could be going for Zaporizhia, and the Mariupol guys could be going to Kherson, which is another region where the Russians are really worried about the Ukrainians planning some kind of a massive counterattack. So that doesn't answer your question yet. In terms of taking it back, look, Mariupol has more psychological value or whatever to us, I think, or what's the word I'm looking for? Heart value or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it means symbolic value to us because thank you, Kanowski, for the fireflies, because, we watched that fight for so long. We watched the 3 months fighting. We watched the Ukrainian troops, the 2,000 men and women fighting the 14,000 Russians. So it was this just epic poem of a battle, right? That does not mean that Mariupol is a smart place to try to take back first, right? It doesn't, what the Ukrainians are going to be looking at is what should we do and what can we do? So they're going to say, what are the strategically important places to get back? And I would also put in terms of that too, not just this town is strategically important, but also this town will lead us then where we take this town, and then it allows us to attack this town next to it, which allows us to attack this town next to it. So there's a whole analysis of how it fits into the war plan, right? Thank you, Me95, for that, of how it fits into the war plan. So it may not make sense for Mariupol. It looks like the Ukrainians are much more interested in going after Kherson and Zaporizhia. Now, Kherson, from everything I was reading, Kherson is here. It seems like Ukraine's very, very fond of naming their cities and their oblasts, their regions, with the same name. So Kherson is the name of the city, and it's also the name of the region. This region is considered hugely strategically important because if the Russians hold on to this region, it gives them a staging ground for the next attack later on. The next attack could be in months. The next attack could be in years. It could be the next war down the line, right? But it gives them a perfect position to really go here, to take Odessa, everything, right? If the Ukrainians take this, it's the opposite. It gives them the nice position to go after, Crimea, to go after these areas here. So a lot of attention has been being played to Kherson in terms of what is strategically important versus the Russians trying to grab the East, because the Russians simply need something for Putin to brag about. Any case, that's a very long way of saying that I don't know if that opens up Mariupol to be liberated, but you've got to liberate the place that makes sense, not just the place that feels good. And Mariupol may not matter in the grand scheme of things. When I say may not matter, meaning it could be way further down the poll of the list in terms of what are strategically important places to go after. So, Jay Nider, have you heard whether Ukraine is getting intelligence help, attack strategies from countries like the U.S.? I mean, we know they've been getting intelligence. What the U.S. was denying was, like, when the Moskva went down, the intelligence made it sound like we helped them sink the Moskva. And the Americans got very upset and they were like, no, we were, and this is exactly what happened. They said, no, we were simply asked, hey, is that the Moskva, that ship sailing? And we looked at our satellites and said, why, yes, that is the Moskva. And the Ukrainians said, thank you so much. And then the Ukrainians turned and blew the hell out of it. But that America had no idea that Ukraine was planning on blowing it up. I mean, to me, it's a bit of a legal fiction because, like, really? Is that their flagship? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But that's that. So we know they've been getting intelligence help. Yeah. Per se, intelligence you don't talk about. So we don't know what intelligence they've been getting, because it shouldn't be talked about. For example, I wonder about the drone stuff, certainly wonder about all those generals and things getting killed. It could just be the Ukrainians hearing in. Now we claim that we would never give them any information that would let them go after a general. We claim that. Did we find such information and give it to the Israelis and the Israelis gave it to Ukraine instead? Right? I mean, there's lots of ways to claim that we didn't give it to Ukraine, right? My right hand never gave it to you, but my left hand did, right? So we may not have given it, but who knows? I hope to God we're providing this stuff, but we do know we're giving some intelligence, yes. Javi. What we got here? Harvey Kittle asks, Keir Starmer, that name, Keir Starmer is the labor leader, right? Is putting considerable funds, I think he's the labor leader, isn't he? Putting considerable funds behind getting Jeremy Corbyn removed from his parliamentary seat in a by-election, reportedly due to his Russia comments. Good. I say good just because Corbyn's an idiot. They're putting around 150,000 pounds, which is a lot for a British election. What I'm curious about is what were the comments? I saw comments like 2 months ago. Ukraine has access to Five Eyes? Really? Oh, that's good. That's very good. But what specifically were his comments? I thought there were some comments about we should get rid of NATO, but I didn't see. What did he say recently? Share with us. And as always, you don't have to pay for it, but I do appreciate when you do pay for it, but you don't have to. But what were the comments? Bulgaria had a no confidence vote. For Bulgaria, I guess it would depend who's next, right? That's always, it's just like having a coup d'etat. Who's next, right? People say, should we get rid of Putin? But who comes next? So the same thing with Bulgaria. Is the next guy or gal going to be better or worse? Yeah, the Ukrainians did apparently hit Snake Island pretty hard. They claimed there was significant damage. Just looking here, still waiting for. Oh, here we go, Harvey. You didn't have to do that, but thank you, Harvey. It's a continuation of the 2 month ago comments. They kicked him out of the party for those, so now he's running as an independent. Okay, all I was asking though, and again, don't pay for the next one. Can you find those comments and post them for everybody? Because I think it would be useful, because even I don't remember the details. All I remembered was some comment about getting rid of NATO, but I didn't remember the comments, and it's helpful. Bottom line, I used to work for a U.S. senator, and what I was told was assume he has no idea what you're talking about, but you've got to tell him in a way that isn't rude. So you've got to say, Senator, as you know, and then you would tell him stuff that he did not know. But the same thing here, I'd say, oh, as you know, Jeremy Corbyn 2 months ago said the following, blah, blah, blah. It caused now, mind you, I don't want Harvey to have to pay $50 because the quote's too long. But my point is, it helps to include the whole thing because nobody remembers the details. I mean, you might, but I certainly don't. But yeah, if somebody's got the full quote, I'd be very curious. Okay, are people being mean to Yulia? Don't be mean to Yulia. Don't be mean to Yulia. And actually, Raymond's good. Raymond's been here a while. Raymond's good too. I'm assuming this is a misunderstanding. Raymond's been good. Just keep it friendly, guys. You've both been really good people here, so I don't want to see you fighting, okay? Be nice. Assume goodwill on all parts. I would ultimately, here's Harvey's quote from the quote of what Jeremy Corbyn said. I would ultimately like to see NATO dispensed. They create one of the greatest dangers to the world currently. Oh my God. Okay, thank you, Baby Shoe. See, I had not seen the rest of the quote. I saw that he had wanted NATO dispensed with or something, but they create one of the greatest dangers to the world. He's a freaking, how could you make him your party leader? What were you people even thinking? This guy's worse than I even imagined. I mean, my God. My God. That is insane. I mean, yeah, you should get rid of him. The guy's an embarrassment. It sounds like he's an old-time socialist, like old time. But dear Lord, my God, the world. And you're saying it in the middle of Russia attacking Ukraine. And you're saying this. Yeah, but this isn't even pacifist. This isn't pacifist. This is treasonous language. This is seditious language as far as I'm concerned. This is not pacifist. This is what I mean. This is old-time socialist who likes the Soviets and doesn't like us, basically. And we've got some of these in our country. And frankly, I'm not going to name names, but you scratch just a little bit and you start to see they don't really like it here. I'm as critical as hell of things here. I mean, I've been involved in the civil rights movement for 30 years. I asked Barack Obama. We beat the crap out of Obama on civil rights stuff, and I beat the crap out of Biden on stuff. But I love my country. But there are people on the far left in this country where if you just get your finger wet and scratch, you're going to find out they hate this country. And I'm not going to name some names who are always in the news who hate this country. But the same thing with that kind of crap. He's a freaking loon. Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, let's move on with the Ukraine news, but that's just wild. Holy crap. Yeah. I mean, they should have gotten rid of that guy along. Again, how you guys made him your party leader is beyond me. That's just sick. That's just sick. I mean, seriously. Well, at that point, if you don't like it, leave. I mean, I never like the don't like it, leave argument because it's often used by conservatives against liberals who complain about anything. You know what I mean? But in that case, Jesus Christ, the quote was, let me pull it up again from these guys. Hold on. The quote was, I would ultimately like to see NATO dispensed, and by dispensed he means disbanded. They create one of the greatest dangers to the world currently. He said this after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Yeah. But as Craig notes, he was thrown out of the Parliamentary Labour Party for minimizing the anti-Semitism that was in the party under his leadership. Thank you for that, Tetya. That was sweet of you. Yeah, I knew about. I remember the anti-Semitic stuff because that pissed me off too. I remember the anti-Semitic stuff. I mean, and he tried to fight back. Okay, we will go back to Ukraine in a second, but he tried to fight back on the anti-Semitic stuff by claiming there was a conspiracy, by this like global conspiracy against him. I mean, it was just like, oh my God, could you be any more, Thank you, Marcy. All right, let's look for more here. Lots of people believe the Russian line that NATO expansion provoked this. The thing is, it really didn't. I mean, I forgot, was it Gorbachev, I think, who even said that there was no promise. There was no promise that NATO wasn't going to expand. Not to mention, the whole concept of NATO expansion gets kind of complicated because NATO expanded because all the countries that the Soviet Union had violated, to use a word that I can use on TikTok and YouTube, because all the countries they held hostage finally said, we're free. Oh my God, protect us from these genocidal Nazi maniacs. So to blame us for the fact that all of Russia and the Soviet Union's victims sought help is bullshit as far as I'm concerned. The second thing is Russia didn't even mention NATO when the first time Russia took over Ukraine, it stole Crimea because of the European Union. It didn't like the fact that Ukraine was getting cozy with the European Union. So that was the first thing. This time, when Russia invaded, I don't recall hearing a lot about NATO. I mean, they blame NATO now, right? But it was all, remember, it was, this is a country of Enzis, and we're going to denazify the government because, remember the whole discussion on Zelensky, who's Jewish, whose family died in the Holocaust, that Zelensky was actually an Enzi, remember? And the country's run by Enzi. Oh, and apparently they said 2 million among the 43 million population were Enzis and would have to be eliminated, which of course is literally Enzi talk. I say Enzi again so the filters don't get upset. But they never even mentioned NATO expansion as the reason they went in. It's bullshit. And the final reason is NATO doesn't want Ukraine, and they've made it clear for 14 years. And I think it's crappy that they've been doing it, but NATO made clear from 2008 Ukraine was wanting to join NATO, and Merkel and whoever the hell back then, I forgot who, Sarkozy, told them to go to hell, and the rest of us went along with it, and it hasn't been any cozier with NATO until now. So it's utter bullshit to even claim that that's the reason when it was never going to happen. And the final point is, I don't care if NATO is expanding. That's why you decided to commit genocide? Really? I mean, if you're worried about expansion on your border, your first impulse is, let's go and kill all the women and children on purpose. Let's just bomb them. Let's use phosphorus to kill. But I mean, my point is, let's not just kill some civilians by accident, and that's war, that's collateral damage. Let's literally intend to kill civilians and go nuts and fire indiscriminately. Mariupol, 400,000 people, let's kill them all. That is not a sane justification for, oh, your bloc expanded a lot and it bothered me. So on all of those points, Russia can go to hell, but especially on the genocide point, especially that nothing justifies the way they have run this war. And frankly, it's the way they run every war. Did they do the same thing in Chechnya and in Syria because NATO was expanding? No. They just did it because that's what Russia does. Russia goes and takes over countries and targets civilians indiscriminately and wipes out entire towns. The U.S. didn't do that since, 1973, I believe, or 72, or whatever it was. We haven't done that. Shouldn't have done it then. It's been 50 years. Russia keeps doing it again and again and again now. Grr. Not getting pissed at you, just saying that is the argument a lot of people use, and it's total ignorance. It's people, I think, who would like to blame us anyway and to defend Russia anyway, is my sense of that. People are weighing, and actually it's a good point to raise for people at large. There's under Soviet tutelage, when Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, it was called the Ukraine. So when I was growing up, we'd call it the Ukraine. It's funny because now I've gotten used to calling it Ukraine, so the Ukraine sounds weird to my ear. But once Ukraine was liberated, because the Soviet Union disappeared in 1991, Ukrainians were trying to understandably adopt their own words to call their country. And they do not call it the Ukraine. The Soviets do. So they wanted people to call it Ukraine. Kiev, which we always called the capital, that is the Russian pronunciation. The Ukrainians say Kiev. So that's why they've asked us to say Kiev, and we've gotten better at calling it Kiev. But they're having a little bit of a spat over on elsewhere here on my laptop in YouTube about calling it the and everything else. The thing is, I think it's always good to remind people that who use that as an FYI. I would say at the same time, though, you probably have to be careful how you remind them. I mean, by the way, I did not see the discussion, so I have no idea, Yulia, how you said it. So I'm not even criticizing you. I'm saying, like, with any of that kind of stuff, people can take it the wrong way because they might think like you're disagreeing with me and you're correcting me. You know what I mean? So like you run into that. But that's why I was trying to tell both of you, Yulia and Raymond, you are both excellent members of this community. Raymond's been amazing. Yulia's amazing. So both of you assume the other probably didn't mean to be rude or patronizing or anything else, because you've both been really great. So just throwing that in. Hope everybody can make up and be nice. But it is correct. You should try to say Ukraine instead of the Ukraine. And it's only a problem for my generation because we learned it the Ukraine, whereas now, nobody does. Not nobody does anymore. Younger people are learning the right way, which is good. I mean, it's the thing is, Syndicate, I will say, for Ukrainians, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too long because I want to answer some more questions. For Ukrainians, it's a really important point, though, because to them, it's not just the or not the. There's a whole, I don't even remember the whole explanation, but there's a whole explanation of why it really is diminutive and kind of putting them down using the. And there's a whole, so it's not as if it's like the spelling is different or something, It's the way I don't remember well enough now, but the way it was explained to me is actually, okay, Yulia, are you putting up there? Here we go. Yeah. It was the Ukrainian SSR. So the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. It was never the Ukraine. It's a narrative made by Russia and how they posed us. They only did it to us as the territory. They didn't call it what? Oops. Got to wait for number 2. Oh, the Kazakhstan. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. The Ukraine. You're right, though, because it was the only place called the. Yeah. But the point is that I will say this, looking at how even it strikes Yulia, who isn't Ukrainian American, she put Ukrainian American spy, but she's Ukrainian, but she's a Ukrainian living in America. So that's the Ukrainian American spy aspect. But she's a Ukrainian. And the very fact that it pisses her off so much is evidence of what I was talking about. That for Ukrainians I've talked to and read about, for them, it's considered kind of a high insult because of the whole Soviet domination thing. That it's not just like an article used wrong. That's the reason I bring it up. Oh, sorry. I wanted to make sure that was Christy. Thank you, Christy. So I didn't see who it was that put that up. Okay. So Marion. Oh, actually, and Marion knows this stuff too. My friend Marion's joining in. Hi, Marion. We're having a discussion about the article "the" on Ukraine. And while Yulia, who's Ukrainian, is justifiably upset about using the, and some others didn't think it was such a big deal. And I was trying to explain that, at least from the Ukrainians I know, they actually do consider it a really big deal. It's something that I don't think we can appreciate, not being Ukrainian. So I'll leave it at that. It reminds me of gay stuff that I'll work on sometimes and have to explain to people. And they're like, what's the big deal? And I'm like, oh, actually, I can give you an example. For me, it's people who use the word homosexual versus gay. Drives me up the wall. For years, I've fought it here. And I even got one of the big bookstores in Washington, one of the big book chains, Crown Books or whatever it was when they used to exist, to change a number of their sections, because there was a poll years ago, and I won't go off too much of a tangent here, but there was a poll years ago when we were trying to lift the ban on gays serving in the U.S. military. And what the poll showed was, when you asked people how they felt about gays serving in the military, and then you asked them how they felt about homosexuals serving in the military, the support dropped 15%. 15 points when you said homosexuals instead of gay, which is fascinating, right? And I'll still have fights with people on Twitter. I heard a reporter the other day use the word homosexual, and I just kind of went like, oh God. And it wasn't somebody trying to be negative, but these words have meaning. And then the problem we have today, I would argue, though, is you've also got the purity police, as I call them, who love to jump on you for any mistake you make. And even if it's the stupidest who cares mistake, they go crazy on you, right? And especially on the left, it happens a lot. So you've also got that thrown in, I think, that for some people, if you correct them, they feel like you're being the purity police, as I call it. And it's always one of those things where, it just depends. But with the Ukraine, I've always known that was a big issue for Ukrainians. Yeah, we prefer sodomites. But no, I hope you're being funny, would be. You being funny there? Because you think it's funny to demean people? Is that like what you do? Because you're just this far away from being blocked, so we never have to see your funny little ass for life. So watch it. But yeah, it's just, but the words matter because the words, exactly. Let's go back to Ukraine here. All right, good. All right, let's go back to Ukraine. Questions of Ukraine. And actually, I don't have too much more tonight because I've got plans this evening. I finally made some plans. Let me look for another question, and then I'm going to close shop. Oh, God. I don't think... Wait, were the hearings tomorrow postponed as well? Somebody help me out here. Poppy's asking, do we know why the hearings have been postponed? Were the hearings postponed tomorrow? Oh, God. Syndicate, you're kidding me. It's the exact opposite here. Oh, my God. Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, not tomorrow. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Poppy. What syndicate? Which hearings were postponed? I don't know. Don't know. Should the West recognize the Belarus democratic government in exile? Would this force Russia to spread it to... That's interesting. I mean, I guess I don't know enough about the politics. I also don't know enough about the government in exile. I mean, I've seen the woman on Twitter and I've seen her staff, and they're very prolific. And I've seen that she has met with top American officials. So I'm assuming she's considered a good cookie, but I don't know enough about it. I am familiar with Julia. I say Eoff. I'm sure it's Yoffi. She says Putin is humiliated and knows the whole world wants to see him humiliated. She says he definitely could use nukes. Interesting. That's interesting. I'd like to see, did she do an analysis of it, or did she just say it on TV? Which way is that? Okay. Everyone's saying it still looks like it's happening tomorrow. Can I just say, how do we even find a discussion of Ukraine as being too far left? Someone's complaining that the news we're talking about is too far left. We're talking about Ukraine and Russia. I mean, really? I want to arm Ukraine to beat Russia back into the Stone Age. That's too far left. Give me a break. See you, Yulia. But anyway, yeah, I'd be curious what Julia's saying, whether it was just a comment she made or what. She was born in Russia. She's smart. She knows Russia. But and Putin is humiliated already. We know that. He definitely could use nukes. My concern with Putin using nukes, and then I am going to call it quits here because, like I said, I want to get going in a minute, is I see Putin potentially using tactical nuclear weapons because I think we have sent the message to Putin. And by the way, Mr. You're too liberal, get ready for it. I think all of our leaders have sent the message to Putin that we're scared of him, right? We don't want World War III. How many freaking times do we have to say we're afraid of World War III? Because what we're saying is we're afraid of him. Thank you, Rainbow. We're afraid of engaging with him. The message you send isn't we're afraid of engaging with you. The message you send is we don't want war, but if there is a war, we're going to beat your ass into the Stone Age. And that's the freaking message. And every time they bring up the nuclear stuff, you stand back up and you go, grow up. because we've got nukes and you've got nukes. And if you were to use one of your nukes, we would end your country as you know it. And it's a Ronald Reagan moment, basically. I always say Ronald Reagan or Maggie Thatcher. You need somebody who literally will not hesitate, but to put them in their place. And I don't know if we've got, maybe Boris Johnson, maybe, ironically, because I don't like Boris Johnson generally, but I don't know who we've got as a leader. Well, other than, you got the Baltic states and, Poland, but I'm talking, superpower leader-ish. You're certainly not going to get it from France and Germany. And Biden, you're not going to get it from him either. But somebody should have told them from the beginning, stop it. Just stop it. Every time they talked about going after Berlin, you'd say your country wouldn't exist on the map if you went after Berlin. So grow up and you know it. You're not going after us. We're not going after you. But you put it that meaning we're not launching nukes. You're not launching nukes. Grow up. But you've got to, and granted, the diplomats are always worried about, but you want to be careful because you don't want to piss him off by how you say it. But with somebody like Putin, it needs to be done very directly or he doesn't get it. Thank you, Flower Lady. But you certainly don't say, I'll recap. You certainly don't say, we're, no matter what happens, we're not going to engage with you directly because that would be really bad. No, you say, you know what? Are we going to engage militarily with Russia? Let's leave that to Russia to find out. Maybe Russia, but if Russia's worried about engaging with us militarily, and Russia should be, considering they can't even beat Ukraine, how are they going to beat 30 other countries? Or however big NATO is right now, I think it's 30, then yeah, maybe Russia should start paying attention if it's worried about engaging with us militarily. But I wouldn't say I'm afraid of engaging with them militarily. No, this is, man. All right. We'll do the quick roundup because it's a lot of issues, but I'll do them quick. Oil refinery hit in Rostov, Russia. We hope it's the Ukrainians. Collaborator, his car, was it his car? Yes, his car was blown up in the Kherson Oblast, where a Ukrainian collaborator. British intelligence says that the militia of the Donets, which are the collaborationist republic, 55% of its original military force is either dead or wounded. The Russians are threatening to execute a British-born member of the Ukrainian military. Germany is offering multiple launch rocket systems to Ukraine. The German Germany and Netherlands are providing Ukraine with a total of 12 Panzerhaubitze, which are howitzer artillery, self-propelled howitzer artillery pieces. We'll skip that one. Reporters Without Borders says that a Ukrainian photojournalist was executed by Russian troops. A third of those who stayed in Russian-occupied areas around Kyiv, the Ukrainian capital, lost their lives. Russia dismantled and removed the largest solar power plant in Ukraine. The Kremlin has made so many changes to its military, its top military, and the military running Ukraine that the Institute for the Study of War says basically there's so much dysfunction going on that there's no way they're on a verge of a major success. The BBC reported that new Russian recruits are receiving only 3 to 7 days of military training before being sent to the most active centers of the front. So in other words, they're not just being sent to the front, they're being sent to the worst spots of the front with 3 to 7 days training. Families of of Russian sailors who were killed or injured, I should say in this case, in the Moskva sinking, are going public with their concerns because their family members are now being redeployed to more combat jobs, and they say that they should be sent home. The Miami police has launched a buyback program for weapons and is sending a number of the weapons to Ukraine. And finally, the Boston Dynamics is sending the scary robot dog Spot to Ukraine to help clear mines, mortar shells, and cluster munitions. So there you go. As I said, I'm going to stay another couple minutes and then that's it. Because I finally have plans tonight. It's the first time in a long time. Well, that's not true, but I have plans. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Yep, throw bodies at the problem all over again. The robot dog is scary. The robot dog is very scary. See, and that's what you do. Harvey Kittle says, Boris Johnson announced a statement saying all options are on the table if the captured UK citizens are executed. That is exactly what you say. But you don't say, which Biden would, but we're not going to engage militarily because we don't want World War III. You know? What do you do? I did actually find out today. I was bitching about something a top Biden official had said, because basically she made a quote about Ukraine that was talking about supporting them to, thank you, Ricky Ticky, supporting Ukraine to protect their democracy and something else. And a defense reporter jumped in and said, you know, I notice there's no talk about making Ukraine strong enough to actually, you know, get its land back. And it was, anyway, it was very interesting. But so then I went and looked at the quote again, and I realized the one, because I was curious exactly who the woman was who said it. And the woman who said it was Wendy Sherman, who is the Deputy Secretary of State, the #2 job at the State Department. And then I realized she was following me on Twitter. So then, like, I wrote a follow-up tweet and I was like, so here's what I mean. Because I was like, okay. But at least it means, you know, that's the one thing I like about Twitter. There's a sort of an equalization out there, which I like. And at least there's the chance that important people are hearing things. There's a chance, obviously. If she actually reads Twitter, who knows, you know? But maybe she does. Now, interestingly enough, Syndicate, the stuff didn't update tonight. Our little Streamlabs stuff we use, it didn't update. None of it's updated. Doesn't matter now. But it's stuck on yesterday's. Oh, yeah, I've made it. I know you've made it when you're followed by somebody important on Twitter. Oh, man. Can't even see what's what here. Oh my God, you're driving me crazy here. Anyway, thank you, can now see. Thank you, everybody. Anyway, still 19 on Twitch. The mighty Twitchers, they're good. They're good, they're mighty, and they're growing. Syndicate's throwing in some American news. Arizona House Speaker Rusty Bowers, who testified on Tuesday that he resisted former President Trump's aggressive pressure campaign to overthrow the 2020 election, told the AP that he'd still vote for Trump in 2024. What is wrong with these people? I just don't get it. I don't get it. Thanks, Marcy. You know, I just don't get it. That is so screwed up. That is just so screwed up. I mean, I just, you know, God. Of course I got a junk call. Anyway, oh boy. All right, guys, you know what? I'm going to do sayonara here. Yeah, Yulia still has the Q&A on her page. I don't understand this. I mean, maybe she hasn't updated, but you'd think she probably has. You know? I don't get it. I totally don't get it. Yeah. All right. Any case, guys, let's wrap it up. So tomorrow, thank you, moderators. Thank you, Christy. So tomorrow, we're going to do our usual 6 o'clock, but we're also going to do another exhausting 1 p.m. hearing watch party where we all get together and watch the hearing. So join us. You can find it. I've already got it set up, so you can find it on TikTok in the profile. Thank you, Ricky Ticky. You can find it on YouTube and Twitch and everywhere. It's already set up. If you need to click it to register to remind you or whatever, but please check it out because we'll be here, and Damien will be joining us. My friend Damien, who's very smart, and folks enjoyed listening to him last time. He knows his politics. Marianne, thank you for that. Spasiba. I guess we should be saying Yaku. I should be saying in Ukrainian. Oh, that's scary. All right, guys. All right. So yes, look for us. It'll be tomorrow, 1:00 will be the watch party for the next hearing of the January 6th Insurrection Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives. So thank you, mods. Join us then, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. Glory to Ukraine. Glory. I know. Slava Ukraini. All right, guys. All right. I'll sign off with you guys first. Thanks again, Marian. That was nice of you.